Hi, Greg Lewis, MetaStock Software. In just a moment, Jeff Gibby will be giving a tutorial on MetaStock and Steve Bigelow's candle profit system. It's a great presentation, and I'm sure you're going to get a lot from it. If you don't have MetaStock or Steve Bigelow's candle profit system, now would be a great time to visit metastock.com/candlestickforma, or just visit one of the links provided and get a free month of MetaStock as well as $100 off Steve Bigelow's candle profit system. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy your presentation.
All right, hello everybody, Jeff Gibby here. I hope you're doing well. I'm going to open up the questions tab. Want to make sure you guys can hear me, so please let me know. We do have quite a few people here. A few things I want to say as I'm waiting for somebody to type in that I am broadcasting is thanks for buying MetaStock, and thanks for using MetaStock as well. Appreciate it. Thanks, Mel. Appreciate it. Okay. Okay. So let me introduce myself just a little bit. I'm not going to talk a lot about myself. I've worked here for about 20 years. Today's class is really designed for those of you that answered that I'm brand new to MetaStock, or I'm a bit of a beginner with MetaStock. I want to kind of, a lot of you purchased MetaStock just barely because of the promotions we did with Steve Bigelow. And I want to make sure that you kind of understand how to do, some of the more basic stuff in MetaStock, how you can kind of get max value out of your new MetaStock program. And so that's the goal today. That's what I'm going to be trying to do. My title here is Product Manager, or I'm actually the Business Development Manager. And I worked very closely with Steve when we created the product. And, it was a lot of fun. Steve's a great guy. Love him. And so let's get ahead with the class and kind of like what we're going to talk about today. I do need to read this out loud. Today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the company's software. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of this software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So you guys all know about Steve. You guys all got this. Okay, so today, really what I want to do is kind of do a very relaxed class. I want to kind of just get in here and talk to you a little bit about how to set up the charts, how to work with, the Bigalow Expert Advisor, how to work with the pre-filter lists. The email I sent out to you inviting you to tonight's class actually had the link for those pre-filter scans, so hopefully you're able to get those installed, but it's just a real quick download, real quick run, and it just adds a couple of extra explorations for you. I'm going to show you how to, and then I want to kind of just run any explorations. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them as we go. If you have questions at the end, we'll do an official QA. I want to make sure you're also aware of a lot of the resources. We've spent a lot of time developing a lot of resources out there for you, and so I just want to make sure that you know where to go if you need help. So that's the plan for today's class. Again, if you have questions, it's going to be a pretty easy class. But if you have questions as we go, please make sure to say something. So, in any case, that's the one. There's one more PowerPoint I'm going to show you, but that's it. Really, a lot of this is going to be going into the software, showing you step by step how to do everything. So, now let's go ahead and do it. When you initially start up MetaStock, this is, of course, is what we call our Power Console. It basically just allows you to do any of the really powerful functions in MetaStock, that be charting or scanning or testing trading ideas, and our forecaster is actually pretty cool as well. And so anything that you want to do is going to basically be available from this tab, including opening up and looking at charts. If you're ever in MetaStock and you've kind of closed this window out and you want to get back to the Power Console, just click on this P in the corner. It'll pop it up for you and you'll be able to see it again. So initially we're going to start with charting. We're going to run into explorations as well and show you how to run a couple of explorations. We really won't talk a lot about system testing or forecasting. They're both really, really cool tools, but really want to show you how to take advantage of Steve's stuff. And that really has to do with scanning to find his patterns and then looking at charts to see kind of how they look and, of course, getting like the expert feedback and stuff like that. We'll start with charting. So initially, what you're going to see when you click on this charting tab is you're probably going to see this, where you're going to see a little bit of a variation of this. I've made this full screen. It's just a matter of clicking on this button if you want to see it full screen. I prefer to see it full screen, so I always kind of just leave it locked in a full screen mode. Okay. From here, you can open up charting in a couple of different ways. The first way is you could actually come in here and just say, well, I want to look at DIA, and as long as you know the symbol for it, you just type it in and it's going to, and you just click on Open Chart once we've got our options set and it'll open up the chart for you. You can open up a couple of symbols this way. So for example, I could actually type in IBM, Microsoft, Google. You'll notice I have a .o. What generally happens is with most 4-character symbols, you'll add a .o after it, and that just basically means you're going to get all of the market for Google. You can also do, I think it's OQ, which allows you to just get the NASDAQ only, but the O is probably primarily what you're going to be looking at. Okay, and again, you only have to worry about that with symbols that are more than 4 characters. You also can and will, especially if you're doing scanning a lot, you'll have instrument lists that are down here. And you'll notice there's a lot of instruments that are available. Reuters has like 376,615 instruments that you can pull up in MetaStock. They've actually got more than that, but that's the list that we've decided is kind of what most everybody's going to want to be following. Okay, so if we click this tree down here, it's going to break this huge list up in a way that I feel is pretty reasonable. Like any data that you've got on a local data list, which I don't use any local data lists, most people don't, will be listed. But if you have local data that you import into MetaStock, it'll be right here. Any of the custom lists, and this is kind of getting into the area of where you're going to be using stuff, any of the custom lists that we've got are going to be stored right here. So these are lists that I've made either through scanning or lists that I've actually added, or lists of things that I'm interested in, those type of things. Any of your custom lists will be just located into this tree. And it's nice to have those things on lists, and I'll show you why when we get into scanning. It's really, really nice. But it's nice to have those things in a list because it allows you to kind of filter through them real quick. Underneath that, you're going to have all of your public online lists. You'll notice a lot of different things that are available. Most of you, unless you're actually located in Australia or in Europe, most of you are going to be interested in the North American equities markets, or maybe the indexes, or maybe the index constituents. I like to every once in a while go in and just see how all the stocks on the Dow look. There's only 30 of them. Kind of gives you an idea of kind of how the market is doing in general. And index constituents allows you to actually go in and just kind of cycle through all those stocks. But you'll notice it's pretty easy to navigate. Anytime you want to kind of drill into something, maybe you want to do some sector analysis. We've got the sectors broken down by sectors and industries as well. So anytime you want to kind of look at something that's kind of a little bit unique, you'll be able to find the list for it. Not a lot of people are going to come in here and look at every stock that's optionable. There's just too many of them. But that's why we do scanning. It allows you to kind of skip over 4,400 stocks and maybe focus on the ones that work. So in any case, let's open up a chart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep kind of the idea that you've got Bigalow and in mind, and the fact that you want to use his stuff. So we're really going to kind of talk a little bit about applying his charting styles and looking at the commentary that we wrote with Bigalow a few years ago. And so let's go ahead and open up DIA. I'm interested anyway to see kind of how the DIA, if you're not familiar with this, it's an instrument that I kind of like to look at. It's an ETF, and it's called the diamonds, but basically what it is it just follows the Dow Industrial Average. So it's a way to trade the Dow if you want to buy it as stock. Over here, there's a couple of options that are available that I'm going to go through. I would leave this on the load default records unless there's a reason that you want to look at more than that. Reuters has a lot of history, but this is going to load up quite a bit of history. Of course, you can load up the maximum records, which will load up everything Reuters has, or you can do based on a particular time frame that you want to look at. Right here, you're going to set your instrument setting. I'm just going to leave that at daily. It's pretty self-explanatory. This is where you can change it to weekly or monthly or 60 days or 60 minutes or whatever you want. Okay. Under templates, since we're going to be dealing with a template is kind of a collection of an expert advisor and any indicators, and we built one for Steve Bigalow. So if you'd like to do Steve's, just have your chart set up the way Steve has them set up. All you do is you come down in here, and it's called CPS, that stands for Candle Profit Systems, but you'll see I've got a few of them. There's only one that actually ships with MetaStock. It's the Bigalow chart view. There's another one that's chart view futures, which is he uses a few different moving average combinations with futures. It's one that that Steve and I built after we created the product. It's not actually shipped with the product, but if you want it, you can drop me a message. You've got my email address because I emailed you today, and I'll just send you the futures template and show you how to install it if you want that. The with volume is just a modification I made that included volume. I'm going to actually show you how to do it. I actually did it for a class similar to this one. So, don't see any questions coming in, but we haven't gotten that far into it. Make sure you ask them if you've got them. Okay, so the option you're going to have for this is the chart view. I'm going to go ahead and select this as an option. It will remember this as the template that I look at. So if I look at them from a different way or from a scan list, it's going to save this. So unless I change it, it'll always be this Bigalow chart view. I'm going to go ahead and click on Open Chart now. Open up the daily chart of the Bigalow chart view. We'll just give it a second to load. It's not going to leave too much longer than that. This is the way that CPS looks on the Dow. Oh, this is the weekly chart. Let me change that down to the daily chart. Okay, and to do that, what I did was I just click on this weekly and went down to daily. Now, there was an option on that chart that said to use a weekly or use the template's periodicity, which is why I said daily, but it opened up weekly. By default, that's not checked, and you don't really need to worry about it too much. Okay, so now what you're going to see is you're going to see, of course, all of Steve's moving averages, including his T line, and you're going to see stochastics, and that's pretty much what you're going to see. You'll also notice that all of his patterns are identified. Right here we had the bull kicker. Here we had the doji best friend. This was I actually took a trade on this one. It was great. You'll see this left-right bullish combo. Just a lot of stuff that's actually kind of in here on the chart for you. But it's identifying and labeling all those patterns so you can see exactly what patterns form and when. In addition to that, hopefully we do have the commentary. So just a few days ago, we had this bull kicker that formed on the chart, and in a minute we're going to run a scan to show us all the stocks that have like maybe a doji best friend or something like that on there. And so if you ever kind of want to, maybe you're not familiar with what a bull kicker is, or maybe what one of this doji best friends are, the bull kicker, what we actually put together in the program is actually kind of some guidelines to what that pattern is and how to read it on the chart and what to look for to go along with it. So if I actually come in here, I can click on View, and I can go to Expert Commentary. Okay, so just to get here, the easiest way I've found is just to go and View Expert Commentary. That's going to open up a dockable window, and you'll notice as soon as this window opens up, it actually puts a little bit of an arrow on the chart right here. See where I'm pointing? On the very last day. It's not going to say a lot right here. It kind of talks a little bit about Steve. Of course, there's a little bit of a legal disclaimer at the bottom, but it only really kind of says stuff that's important on a pattern bar. So in other words, there's not much that we're going to talk about right here just because not too much was happening. But I can move this along, backwards or forwards. If I go backwards in time, it'll go back one day. I can actually click on any of the patterns, so I can actually kind of zoom in to zoom in, I actually want to zoom in a little bit anyway. One of the ways to zoom in is just to grab this zoom box, just draw a circle around what you want to see or square around what you want to see. And then I'm just going to click on the day here, and it's going to give you the explanation of what a bull kicker is. So we just had one here, we had one here. The explanation is always going to be the same if it's the same pattern. So in this particular case, I'm going to make this a little bit longer, or a little bit bigger, so you can kind of see it in the webinar room. But it just basically kind of tells you a little bit about what this bullish kicker pattern is. It's a consistent opportunity for a long position. The signal is even more powerful when it forms at a major support level. The larger the dark candle is at the bottom, the more powerful the reversal. Your exit strategy should be swift upon the trading below of the open of the previous day's candle body. Okay, so what we had was we had this bull kicker. What it's telling you is this is usually a pretty good pattern. If it happened at a major support level, which this did, Steve uses his moving average as a support level, and the 200-day simple moving average is a major. So it happened right on top of that 200-day moving average. And then what it's saying is you should go ahead and buy long. Or you put your exit strategy would look to get out of any trading below the open of this candle. So if it comes down below the open of this bar, you go ahead and get out. The open is going to be on a red candle. It's going to be at the very top, or it's going to be at the very top of the wick, I should say. So in this particular case, we go ahead and get in. We put a little bit of a stop loss, and hopefully we didn't stop out of that trade. Okay, because a lot of Steve's patterns are. In this case, this one is actually very, very clear. But because a lot of Steve patterns are you're looking for like a fry pan bottom, or you're looking for like a curved top, or I should say a dumpling top, those type of things, what I wanted to do is I wanted to include in this specific criteria that we're looking for in our algorithms so that you can kind of know what we're looking for, so you can make sure that that makes sense on the chart when you see the scan. So in this particular case, we're looking for a moderate to large dark candle that forms at the end of a downtrend. Pretty good. We're looking for the next day for prices to gap up, which is what they did. A gap open at or above the previous day's open and continue in an upwards direction. So in this particular case, we're telling you exactly what we're looking for. Because you're going to run a lot of scans for these types of patterns, and you might come back with maybe 5 or 6 bull kickers, and you kind of want to get a good idea for what works or which ones you should take. We also put in a lot of enhancements to the patterns. So in the case of a bear kicker, this is what you're looking for to make it a better move. This is how you judge it against the other ones that come back in your scan every day. If a kicker signal forms at a major support level, this is much more powerful. The bigger the dark candle at the bottom, the more powerful the reversal. So these are the things that you can judge it by to kind of pick out the one that you want to trade from your scan. So hope that makes sense. Again, to get to this, what you're going to do is just click on View Commentary. It is a dockable window, so initially when you open it up, it's probably going to be like floating here. And you can kind of resize it and make it as big as you want. I prefer to kind of dock it off to the side so that I can still see the full chart, because I like to see the full chart. So that's really kind of been enough. And then of course you can click on any of the patterns that you want historically. It's going to have similar explanations for what that pattern means, what your exit criteria should be, what your enhancements should be. So that's how that works. That's how the expert advisor works. That's how the commentary works. And let me know if you have any questions on that. It's pretty straightforward. Again, the thing I like about MetaStock is once you kind of figure out where all the buttons are, it's not really hard to manipulate. And what I want to do is I actually want to spend a little bit of time before we go into scanning to show you where some more of the buttons are, in case you want to kind of make some modifications to the Bigalow view or kind of set up your own charts. It's always important to know kind of, or at least to have somebody show you kind of how easy it is. So I'm going to go ahead and hide the commentary for now. And we'll just kind of But then this is where we want to start, but we want to add maybe our own personal modifications to it. First of all, let's talk a little bit about changing time frames. If you click on this D, that'll allow you to change your time frames. If you're looking at an intraday chart, it'll be an I. If you're looking at a weekly chart, it'll be a W, but it just kind of gives you an indication of what time frame you're looking at here. If you want to zoom in just a little bit, before I drew a box around what I wanted to look at, but if I just click on zoom in, it'll just incrementally go in. Of course, I can click on zoom out, which will incrementally zoom out as well. Okay. The other thing that I like to do is you can also jump from a chart anytime you want to. So if I wanted to look at IBM, for example, I can just type in a symbol, the symbol for IBM. Okay, it'll come up with a list, and again, you'll see these lists are kind of pretty impressive in terms of what Reuters offers, but I can go IBM. One of the settings that you'll want to set the first time when you start swapping between charts is if this is the view you always want to look at. When you switch through charts, there's an option right here if you click on options, and it says instead of using what we call smart charts, you're going to use the chart as a template. You just click on this. You go back to your instrument, you click on select instrument, and then you don't have to set that again unless you want to change the option, but it just allows you to switch back and forth between charts, and then that way I can just type in any symbol I want to, go click on select instrument, and it's ready. It's basically showing me exactly the chart that I want to look at. Okay, I want to go back to diamonds. Okay, go ahead and select that. Boom, we'll go back to diamonds. There is obviously a huge amount of indicators that are already in MetaStock. Some of you may want to add. You definitely want to know how to add them. So right here, there's a couple hundred indicators that are listed in here. You can write your own indicators. You can kind of write your own scans. You can write your own system tests. It's a very modular program. There's a lot of things you can do in it, but I'm just going to show you how to add some indicators to kind of keep it in the point of what we're doing today. So right down here, it's an alphabetical list. It's going to list all of the built-in indicators at the top, and then all of the custom built indicators down below. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab volume. I want to add volume to this chart. I like to see volume on a chart, and I'm just going to grab this. I'm going to drop it on the chart where I want it to be. So since it's volume, I don't necessarily want it here. I actually want it at the bottom. Everybody's used to looking at it at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on volume right here. You'll notice that it opens a new inner window for me. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and now I've got volume. Okay. And then, of course, I can just drag it to the size that I want. One of the things to kind of keep in mind is you're kind of setting up your charts, anything you want to change on here, the easiest way to change it is to double-click on it. So, for example, I don't like red volume. What I'm going to do is actually going to change the color. And so to do that, all I do is just double-click on volume. I'm going to come over here to color style. I'm going to go ahead and click on black, click on apply, click on close. And now I've got black volume. That's the same with anything in the program. Anytime you want to change something, let's say we wanted to change the actual bar style. Let's say we wanted to make a point and figure chart or something along those lines. If you just double click on that, it's going to give you kind of the options that are here. Okay, and well, let's do it. Go ahead and do candle volume. Candle volume is exactly candlesticks, but what you'll notice is it makes the bars fatter on those big volume days. It's kind of interesting to look at. I actually prefer candlesticks. I'm going to double click on it and switch it back. I'll go ahead and click on OK. Indicators can also be applied to other indicators. I like to see kind of what average volume looks like personally. So an easy way to do that is to make an average of volume and put it on top of volume. So for example, if I come up here to moving average, I'm going to go ahead and grab that. I'm going to drag it. I'm going to drop it right here on volume. I'll go ahead and click on parameters. 26 is fine. Exponential is fine. I'm not going to change anything in here. Click on OK. OK. Now I know what the volume is. And I can see it on the chart. I can see how it is compared to its average volume over time. There are a lot of things in charting that I'm not going to show you. I do want to show you how notes work and how some of the drawing tools work, and then we're going to kind of get into scanning, because scanning is a really cool functionality in MetaStock, and you need to know how to use it. So over here are all of our drawing tools. You'll notice we call this a rotating toolbar. If you click on left or right, it's going to kind of basically alternate to different options. All of these are pretty much click and pick and drag and drop. So, like for example, if I wanted to click on this trend line here, I can just draw a trend line on a chart. It draws exactly the way you would expect it to draw. There's nothing really too secretive about it. And that's the same with all of the drawing tools. Anything that you kind of pick on here, whether you want to do a Fibonacci retracement, you draw it just the same way. You pick your low spot and your high spot and you draw your lines in, and it does a Fibonacci retracement for you. So that's pretty simple to do. You can go ahead and delete this from the chart. Over here, there are a lot of channels and line studies and that kind of stuff. Right here we've got a text tool. I do use the text tool quite a bit. Like for example, if you wanted to make a little bit of a note that you bought here because you got a signal on the Doji best friend, you can do that. MetaStock will save this automatically and it'll be available for you the next time you open it up. I'm going to delete it though. Okay, let's see. I'm just trying to think here to see if there's anything else I kind of want to show you. If you have questions about charting, now would be a great time before we kind of transition into running explorations and how those work. But I'm just trying to think a lot of times, oh yeah, I knew I was forgetting something. One of the things I do like in MetaStock is the built-in help files. Like for example, there are a couple hundred indicators in here. If you ever want to know a little bit more about, let's say, the MACD, for example, I just added MACD up here in the center window. If you just right-click on an indicator and go to Help, it actually is going to tell you how that MACD is calculated. It's going to give you different ideas of the interpretation, tips on kind of looking at it, that kind of stuff. And one of the other things that, especially if you're brand new to technical analysis, I know a lot of you, I know about half of you said you're brand new to MetaStock, but if you're new to technical analysis, what you may want to do is play with some of the built-in expert advisors because they can be very, very helpful for you to understand different technical concepts. So for example, if you come in here to this guy, this is the expert advisor. There's a lot of built-in expert advisors. Right now we're looking at the expert advisor that paints Steve Bigelow's candle patterns. But if I wanted to change that, for example, let's say I wanted to go down here to this Equus candlesticks one. I can click on attach. It's actually going to identify a lot of single day patterns that we can look at. And we can likewise go into the commentary and actually see what those are and see what the meanings of those are. So a lot of things to play with in the software. I don't want to show you too much. I don't want to kind of get you overwhelmed, but let's go ahead and attach this back. I don't want to mess up my own template, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this as it is. Let's go ahead and Mel, that's it. Thank you for the question. Appreciate that. If you want to do a MACD histogram, if you want to change just a MACD to a histogram, what you can do is just click on here, go to color style. I double clicked on the MACD line. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change that to a histogram style. I'll go ahead and click on close, and that'll change it to a histogram. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and close this out. Click on no. I'm just going to say I'm going to get rid of this off of my chart, and we're going to talk a little bit about scanning and how to do it. So let me go ahead and open up the Power Console again. And what I'm going to do is actually click on the Scanning tab. So we call it the Explorer. It's for scanning. And I'm just going to show you how it works, how everything goes in here. So this is the same instrument list that we were working with before. Okay. And generally, if you're if you come down to CPS, you're going to notice that there's quite a few explorations under CPS. As long as you've got everything installed, including Steve Bigelow stuff, you should see CPS scans that are available here. If you hover over them, because there's a lot of patterns. So what I tried to do, PowerPoint crashed. I blame PowerPoint. It's going to restart on us. Because there was 23 or 24 different patterns, I'm actually going to start it up again over here. Because we had, okay, it started by itself. I broke PowerPoint. what I try to do is kind of break them up into patterns. So you can scan for like price patterns or doji dynamite or power signals. These are actually the patterns that we used to kind of break them up. So if we come back into the exploration or the power console here, if I hover over one of these, it's going to tell you what pattern that's going to look for. So some of my favorite patterns are the doji dynamite. It's like the doji best friend. It's a really, really good one. Here's the one that you would run with for your J hooks, and here's the one you'd run for your power signals. And this will give you the price patterns. You can select them all. You can run through all of these at the same time. You notice I just put a check mark in every single one of them. It'll run through all of them for me. But first, what you're probably going to want to do is actually build a universe. And the bonus scans are going to help you do that. So the universe scan, what it's designed to do is it's designed to go through a list, and it's designed to filter stocks that are out that are under $5 and don't trade greater than 200,000 shares a day. So anything that doesn't have a closing price of at least $5 or has trades less than 200,000 shares a day will be filtered out by this exploration. So to run it, what you're going to do is you'll want to run this on a daily time frame too, because obviously 200,000 shares means a lot different on an hourly time frame than it does on a daily time frame, than it does on a weekly or a monthly, obviously. So this is really designed for daily. The other scans you can run on an intraday period, and that would be fine. But on this one, you're going to filter out just a ton of stuff that you shouldn't otherwise filter out just because of that volume requirement, which is why I broke it out just so that we could run this scan. So out here, to build this list, what you're going to do is you're going to select either the universe one or the universe oversold. The universe oversold has an additional criteria. It also filters out stocks that have stochastics that are under 20. Now, obviously, if you're doing futures, or if you're doing Forex, if you're doing international markets, these criteria probably won't make sense for you. So you can go in and change them. It's pretty easy to change. I don't think I'm going to, well, actually, I'll just do it. Like if you double click on it, you just change the values in the filter here. Like this is your close greater than 5. You can change that to whatever you want. Or you could just run it against the current common currencies, and you should be okay because they're fairly liquid. But generally, this is built for stocks. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to basically, I'm going to do the CPS universe here. I'm going to run that scan. And down here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically, now you see I've already done the next scan, and it remembered that I did the next scan. But what you're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and unselect that. I'm going to come down here, and if I wanted to scan like all of the optionable stocks, for example, I just click on US optionable stocks. I go ahead and make sure this is set as daily. You want to use the last date and time, and you just go ahead and click on Start Exploration. It doesn't take very long to go through that exploration, but just to kind of save some time, I've already run it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what to do with the list once it comes back. When the exploration is done, it'll bring up a list that says the report's ready. You click on Reports, and it's going to show you this screen. And you can get to this screen anytime, just like I just did. Right-click right here, go to Report, and it'll show you the report. So what we've got here is we've got about 2,500 stocks that actually fit that criteria out of the 4,800 optionable stocks. This is the results. You can see what was rejected if we click on this Rejects tab. It's going to list all the ones that were actually spit out of this scan. And really the only thing you're going to do with this is save it. So when you click on Save List right here, it's going to allow you to create a list to put in that custom list folder. In this particular case, click on Create New. I'm going to say I want to call this the CPS 816 list, or pre-filter list. And you don't have to run this all the time. Like generally, if a stock's under $5 and has 200,000 shares of trading a day, it's not going to be something you need to run every day. It's just to make a list that you can scan against every day. I'll go ahead and click on Create right here. I'll go ahead and click on OK. And it's just going to add those 2,000 results into a list I can now scan on a daily basis. Makes sense for everybody? Any questions? Okay. Once you've got that done, like again, I probably do that every 2 or 3 months. I do it every month or two just because I'm doing these classes, but these classes aside, I probably would only do it every 2 or 3 months. And then the next scan that you're going to run is going to be like this Doji Dynamite pattern scanner, the J-hook scanner. All of those, if you want to, you can just select all of them. And then instead of saying, I want to scan the optionable stocks, you'll take the check mark out of here, and it'll be a custom online data list. You'll have your results from the 816 pre-filter list or whatever you called it. So I want to run that against that. And every day that's a scan you're going to run, or every hour, or however often you want to run it, that's a scan you're going to run. Okay. I'm not going to run it now. Again, I just want to save some time. My goal here is to kind of show you how to do it. Once that report comes back, this is what it's going to look like. All of these are slightly a little bit different because they're looking for different patterns. There's a lot of patterns today, but against 2,600, maybe we've got 20 or 30. Okay, of those, these are the Doji tops. Let's see if there's any Doji best friends. There's one. The Power Short Dow Jones 30 was a Doji best friend. Here you've got your left-right bullish, your left-right bearish, your series of bullish or bearish. If there's only one that you want to look for, maybe you're looking at the Doji best friends and that's the one you want to define. Well, you can just go ahead and open the chart right here. It'll open up a chart. And most of the time, though, you're probably going to want to look at some different stocks, kind of take a look at the ones that appeal to you most, maybe hit the enhancements we were talking about earlier. So what you can also do here is you'll just save this as a list. I'm going to save this as a list. I'm going to go ahead and let's make a list of a name for it. You'll notice last time we did it, there's only 3. CPS, Big, and this would be Dojis. And I always date it because eventually I'll go in here every once in a while, and when I feel like it, and delete it. I'll go ahead and create this as a list. I'll go ahead and click on OK. And now the idea is I want to go in and look at all of the stocks on this list. Maybe get a shorter list, right? I'm not going to buy all of these. So, and there's probably plenty of them on here that are not worth buying. So to do that, you come back in here to charting. Boom. I'm going to go ahead and just unselect everything that's on the list. I'll go to the custom online list, and I don't want to do the pre-filter. There's 35 stocks that I want to look at right here that have the Doji patterns. And the best way to do this that I found is just go ahead and drill into this list, click on the little arrow there. It's going to list all 35 stocks here. I'm going to go ahead and open this one. I'm going to leave it on the Bigalow chart view because that's obviously what I want to look at. And I'm just going to open the first one on that list. Okay. I'll zoom in a little bit because here's your Doji on the top. Take a look at that one. And then anytime I want to kind of look at the next one on that list, or the next one on that list, or the next one on that list, right here there's a little next button, and that's just going to take me to the next instrument on this list. So if I click on this one, we should have another stock. This is Applied Micro. It had a Doji at the top today as well. I can kind of take a look, and that way I can easily go through and identify exactly which patterns I want to look at. So it's that easy. Another Doji at the top. I'm actually kind of interested to go back in and look at that Doji best friend, but that's kind of how you work with it and how you kind of play with it and manipulate it. So kind of covers what I wanted to cover. Hopefully it was helpful for you. I did record it. Thanks for coming too, by the way. I really appreciate that. Let me know if you have questions on scanning. I want to make sure you're aware of some resources that are available for you. So let's just kind of go through here. If you ever need anything, if you're kind of stuck with something, our support is pretty amazing. I get a lot of good comments and good feedback on them. You can chat online with them. You can send them an email. And you can also call them. We actually keep phone numbers. They're all located here in our Salt Lake City office. And if you just come up to this page, all the details are going to be located up here. In fact, we're going to spend a little bit of time on metastock.com/customer because here's, again, the phone number. Here's how you submit an email request. And here's how you chat online with them. So it's right here, metastock.com/customer. I would also recommend you spend some time with our online training. Hopefully this was a good kind of boot camp to help you get started. But if you click on online training here, there's going to be quite a few basic and recorded advanced, and even some Zenith lessons that you can go through. And Zenith is a very, very cool platform. You can see I'm looking at U.S. election, which is really cool in an icon. I love to pay attention to that. But there's just a lot of lessons. If you click on the playlist here, there's just, here's how you run a scan. These are lessons that are designed to be like 5-10 minutes long, very quick, so to teach you a concept and then help you learn about it. So metastock.customer, it includes all the phone numbers, it includes that online training, it includes the online chat link, and I always get feedback on how helpful our guys are. Feel free to reach out to them if you need them. Okay, we do have an advanced class for MetaStock called Unleash the Power of MetaStock, and to get to that, you'll just go to metastock.com/UPM, Unleash the Power of MetaStock, and it's just kind of a course that we've put together that is more of a course. And then when you get kind of done with that, check out our YouTube channel. There we have thousands and thousands of talks up there, whether they're how to use different things in the software, but mostly they're guest presentations. A tremendous resource. If you need me, if you want to send me an email, maybe tell me how much you hated my class today or something like that, feel free. The email address is jeffrey.gibby@metastock.com. And also, in all seriousness, if there's anything I can do to help or maybe point you in the right direction, feel free to reach out to me. So I see a lot of questions coming in. I hope this was helpful for you. Hope it kind of helps you get off on the right start with MetaStock. And again, if there's anything I can do to help you, just let me know. And thanks for coming. Thanks for using MetaStock. Welcome.